Good evening. I am the Maven of the Eventide, and it's finally fall. The weather is becoming more hospitable to goth attire. Plants are dying. Halloween is approaching. Elvira came out of the closet. It's the best time of year. And what better way to celebrate than with more vampire books? Have any set schedule to how I make these vampire library book videos. I sort of just wait until I get a nice big stack of new books that, reaches high enough that it starts to fall over, and then I'm like, so it's been a few months since I last shared my new vampire acquisitions with you, and I have some things that I've been dying to show you for a while. But first, we're going to start with the vampire books. Most of these are books sent to me by you. Whenever you think there's a vampire book my library is lacking that you think I need and you want to send it, you can do that. A lot of people send me their old books that they're getting rid of. They say, hey Maven, I'm cleaning out my library and I have all these vampire books I was gonna give away. Do you want them? Yes, I do. I always do. I keep a list of the ones I already have, so you know. So there's always a lot of really obscure things that show up in my haul that you often wouldn't find. Some things that are out of print or self-published or small press that would not normally be found on the mainstream. So I'm always happy to share them with you. And these aren't in any particular order. I just stack them up by size so my tower would not fall over. Starting off with another Warhammer vampire book. This is book 2 in the Von Karnstein trilogy, Dominion by Stephen Seville. I do not have book 1. The person who sent this to me said they could not find book 1 or 3 in person. They found this in person, but they are available online, supposedly. Also in an omnibus edition. Thank you for telling me about that. The Armies of the Undead March On. So the Von Karnstein trilogy, Karnstein like Carmilla, but it's spelled with a C, so they're not related, I guess. The Lords of Darkness march to war. The vampire counts have ravaged the old world for many generations, and the evil von Karnstein bloodline are the most feared. Their undead scourge has been felt throughout history, and now Stephen Seville brings the bloody terror to life in the second novel in this series. Dominion tells of the epic rise and fall of the infamous vampire Conrad von Karnstein and his battles throughout the old world. As mighty armies are raised and swept away, legions of the undead continue to grow. Oh, so this sounds like you could probably read it without having read the first, since it's telling the story of this one particular guy. Thank you for sending this to me. To add to my Warhammer vampire collection, which I'm getting a lot of considering that I'm not a person who was ever familiar with Warhammer before. My Babysitter is a Vampire by Anne Hodgman, author of Stinky Stanley Superhero, which I've never heard of. I know there's a movie, a Disney thing called My Babysitter is a Vampire. I don't know if it's based on this or if it's just like a coincidental title. Moose Island doesn't have many babysitters, so Meg and Trevor Swain figure they'll have to put up with what they get. But when weird Vincent Graver shows up at their front door, they know they're in for big trouble. Whoever heard of a babysitter who has pointy little teeth, carries a mysterious red liquid around in a bottle, and doesn't like pizza? This came out in 1991, a classic. Not one that I ever read as a child, so I'm very happy to have it now. I love gothic children's books because a lot of people think like, oh, it's too scary for children. You can't introduce children to spooky stuff. Yes, you can, and yes, I will. This one I'm very excited about. Anyway the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. This just came out recently. Been waiting a long time for this. This is the third book in the Simon Snow series. I've already talked to you previously about the first 2 books, Carry On and Wayward Son. And according to the author, this is the last and final book in the series. In this book, this character here is a vampire, and this one is his boyfriend, so it's a gay vampire book. But they're not just vampires, they're also wizards. They went to a magic school, very Harry Potter pastiche style, and they trained all their lives to become wizards, and now they've graduated, and they're out living in the world, living their vampire wizard lives. I haven't read it yet. It's been out for a while. I really want to read it soon, but I'm excited to see what happens last in the Simon and Baz story. This is I'm Glad You're Dead, book 1 of the Preternatural Chronicles by Hunter Blaine, and I also have the prequel novella Deliverance, book zero point 0.5 of the Preternatural Chronicles, and these were sent to me by Hunter Blaine, who autographed them for me. Thank you so much. My name is John Cook, and my life began the day my heart stopped beating. You meet the most interesting men in medieval prisons. This one time, I met a guy who offered me immortality for the low, low price of changing my diet. I didn't read the fine print, because he wasn't talking about a gluten-free diet, more like hemoglobin full. And now I'm a friggin' vampire with 5 centuries of pop culture references. Granted, at the time, I was listening to the dying screams of my mother and father being burned and eviscerated alive just outside the rusty bars of the prison cell, and now my best friend was offering me my only real chance at saving my own life and avenging my parents' murders, someday. Except my first chance at vengeance took about 500 years, and I had to wade through oceans of sin and violence, blackening my soul and my already dark sense of humor beyond redemption until I met Father Thomas, a Roman Catholic priest in present-day Houston. Papa Thomas taught me how to use my dark curse to fight for the good guys, like Alfred and Robin did for Batman, except we straight up murder Jokers in 2 phases, Bite Man and Popin. We stand up for the downtrodden, the forgotten, and the neglected, by exsanguinating the wicked in horrific, truly imaginative ways, and having a grand old time doing it. You know what they say about doing what you love? But our party is soon cut short when we learn that the end of days is just around the corner, and that the fine print of my contract might have hidden a few other tidbits, like the fact that I was central to kicking off the apocalypse, and that the archdemons will stop at nothing to make sure the dude abides by the terms of his contract. I guess I need a lawyer. Get ready to laugh at extreme violence. I know I will. If you're not laughing, you're learning. Dark, gritty vampire with a humorous twist. And according to the letter that the author sent me with these books, the reviews have called this If Deadpool Was a Vampire. The Den of Shadows Quartet by Amelia Atwater Rhodes, featuring In the Forest of the Night, Demon in My View, Shattered Mirror, and Midnight Predator. Now, I've already read In the Forest of the Night. I borrowed it from a friend. I don't own it, so I'm very happy now to have it in print form in this omnibus with the other novels. What I know about Amelia Atwater Rhodes is that she was very young when she wrote her first book. It's like a teenage vampire book, very like pre-Twilight era, but actually written by a teenager, and that was sort of the, not gimmick, but that was the selling point that got people really interested in it. And In the Forest of the Night, it's a very short, young adult novel about a vampire. There's summaries of all 4 on here, but I won't read the following 3 so you don't get spoilers. But for the first one, it says, 300 years ago, Rasika was human. Now she is a vampire, a powerful one, and her past has come back to torment her. The first book came out in 1999, and the rest were written pretty close on its heels, and I don't remember it very well from when I read it about 2 years ago, so I guess it didn't stick with me that much as a memorable book, but I do remember thinking that it was impressive that it had been written by a child. And I know for a lot of people who grew up with it, it's very nostalgic. This is a short story compilation called The Entrance to Hell and Other Gothic Stories by Michelle Moffat. It contains the stories Why I Stay Silent, Stalkers of Vampires, The Entrance to Hell, and Doll Shop. Thank you so much for sending this to me. I will add it to my complete Michelle Moffat collection, of which I have quite a few now. Strange Angels and Betrayals by Lily St. Crow. Dark, dangerous, and sexy, says Rochelle Mead, author of the Vampire Academy series, which you may have heard of. 16-year-old Drew Anderson has the touch, a sixth sense that drives her from town to town to hunt ghosts, vampires, wolfen, and even the occasional zombie. But Drew's life changes forever when her father is killed, and evil literally comes knocking at her back door. She goes on the run on a cold Dakota night before arriving at a safe haven, or deadly trap, of a school for wolfen in Dampier. Drew's beginning to realize that the touch may not be the only special power she possesses, for the tables have been turned, and now Drew's the one being hunted. She's got only 2 people she can trust, goth boy Graves, whose wolf bite has changed his nature but not his feelings for Drew, and protective Christoph, who uses his razor-sharp fangs to take out anyone who so much as sniffs in Drew's direction. Trouble is, Graves and Christoph don't trust each other, and with stakes this high, there's no room for distraction. Not if Drew's going to stay alive long enough to choose between them. Oh, vampire, werewolf, special human girl love triangle, a classic trope. So this is the first 2 books in the Strange Angels series. So Strange Angels is one book and Betrayals is another. So it's 2 books in one. That's why it's so thick. So you may be thinking, well, that's just a Twilight ripoff. But no, Strange Angels, the first book in this series, came out in 1994 and was a standalone novel. And then after Twilight came out, the next novel, Betrayal, was written. That came out in 2009. And then Jealousy, Defiance, and Reckoning all came out during the Twilight craze. So this author, Lily St. Croix, who used to go by a different author name back in the 90s, had written Strange Angels. And then Twilight came out, vampire boom. They were like, we're going to capitalize on that. She wrote some more novels, and now we have a whole series. But you know, if you're thinking, Twilight, well, Strange Angels did it first. In the 90s. Love in Vain, this is a short story collection, 20 original tales of vampire erotica, edited by Poppy Z. Bright, who you may have heard of. Now, I had already told you about this one, Love in Vain 2, 18 more original tales of vampire erotica. And I'd had this one from someone clearing out their library. They were just getting rid of it. It became mine, and I thought, well, now if I have Love in Vain 2, I have to get the first one, even though vampire erotica is not really my thing, but you know, you got to have it for the collection. So I had a friend who was working at a used bookseller, and anytime a vampire book came into their stock, my friend would tell me about it and say, hey, do you want this one? And a lot of it was stuff I already had. But when this one came in, I was like, you know what? I actually do want that one because I have 2, and I can't have 2 without one. So Vampire Erotica, edited by Poppy Z. Bright, your old favorite. Bright's vision is disturbingly dark, deliciously erotic, sweetly savage, and uniquely her own. The classic horror tale is about fear, but now there is a controversial new literature of the macabre that goes deeper than horror, beyond fear, to explore our darkest, most intimate hungers, the ones even lovers are forbidden to share. Acclaimed dark fantasy author Poppy Z. Bright has brought together this new genre's most powerful and seductive authors in an original collection of vampiric erotica. A shameless celebration of unspeakable intimacies is not for everyone, but neither is the night. This came out before Poppy Z. Bright changed pronouns, but there's a picture of Poppy Z. Bright. Another anthology, this is Gothic, 10 original dark tales, edited by Deborah Noyes. Got some authors named on here. The only names I recognize are Neil Gaiman and Gregory Maguire. I don't recognize any of the other authors, but maybe you do. The best writers of the weird and creepy offer a variety of original stories that range from gloomy to downright terrifying. Brrr, says Kirkus Reviews. A lovesick count and the ghost of his brutalized servant, a serial killer who defies death, a house with a violent mind of its own, and another that holds a grotesque secret in its peeling walls. Here are witches who feast on faces, changeling rites of passage, a venerable vampire contemplating his own end, and a fanged brat who drains the patience of a bumbling teenage boy. Here, too, are a flamboyant young novelist in search of a subject more compelling than his own eerie existence, and the daughter of a sorcerer fighting to free her lover and her will from sinister bonds. Welcome to the world of Gothic. These stories conjure up the grotesque, desolate, and shadowy side of growing up. Intrepid readers will relish the delicious shivers, but may want to keep the lights on, so I guess it's a young adult book. Ages 14 and up, it says. So young adult, Gothic, short stories. Came out in 2006, and the copyright on all the stories is 2004, so these were all original stories written for this anthology. Thank you for sending this to me. No, I did not already have it. Yes, I do want to read it. Issue 9 of the Vampire the Masquerade Winter's Teeth comic, which, as you know, I had the original collected edition of the first issues, and I've been getting the single issues of everything that's come out since. We're almost to the end. How will it end? Deadpool Dracula's Gauntlet graphic novel. Deadpool is fighting this, I guess that's Dracula in a bat form. How do you like your steak, Fangboy, he says. Rare, medium, or in your stinking heart? Oh, Deadpool, you delightful scamp. A tale of boy meets ghoul, as only the demented writers of Deadpool can tell it. It's the twilight of Wade Wilson's life as a bachelor, but in this vampire love story, the only thing that sparkles is the dialogue. Oh, a dig at Twilight, because, you know, anyone who loves Twilight is doing vampires wrong. There's a vampire for everybody. We don't shame people who love vampires. They're on our side. Dracula has chosen a bride. She's a succubus queen of the undead, and their union will end eons of conflict and bring the monster world under his rule. Only one problem: he's hired Deadpool to find her. The stakes are high, middling, and painfully low as Wascally Wade goes all Indiana Jones in a bid to dig up Drac's long-buried intended. But as teleporting assassins, Greek legends, and the vampire hunter Blade get in his way, it's clear not everybody's on board with this unholy matrimony. And when Deadpool finally meets the bride-to-be, even he gets cold feet. If Wade won't run this gauntlet, Dracula will throw down the gauntlet. And that means sending Werewolf by Night and the most literal Frightful Four of all time to retrieve his quarry. As an all-out monster mash looms, how far is Wade willing to go to stop this wedding? There's so many W's in there. Thank you. Funny, vibrant, action-packed. You know, I have never actually read a Deadpool comic before, so thank you for sending this to me. I've seen the movie, you know, vaguely, culturally familiar, but now I actually have one to read. And look how pretty it is. You know I love anything with Blade. Vampironica, Book 1. That's Archie's Veronica, in case you were wondering. When Veronica is bitten by a centuries-old vampire, her thirst for blood threatens to turn Riverdale into a haven for the undead. Will she put an end to the vampire threat or give in to her bloodlust? Archie Horror's latest series paints Riverdale red with a vampiric first collection. As an added bonus, Vampironica Volume 1 also includes an issue of the Archie Horror Comics series Jughead the Hunter. Veronica Lodge was born to be a blood-sucking demon, says IO9. Yes, I guess if anyone was going to be a blood-sucking demon in Archie, Veronica does make a lot of sense. I've also, believe it or not, never read an Archie comic, so thank you for this. Here's one that I've been hearing about for a long time, and now I finally have. It's called Baltimore, or the Steadfast Tin Soldier and the Vampire, by Mike Mignola and Christopher Golden. It's a book. It's not a comic, but it's a novel. It's like one of those graphic novels that's a novel with graphics. Like, you know, one of those comic crossover types. And then at the end, it does have some actual comic. When Lord Henry Baltimore awakens the wrath of a vampire on the hellish battlefields of the Great War, the world falls under the threat of a supernatural pestilence, a plague that even death cannot end. Now trapped in a fierce struggle with an unknowable darkness, Baltimore enlists the aid of three old comrades whose varied experiences, once shared, could finally allow Baltimore to banish his demonic nemesis once and for all. So this was from 2007. That's why I've been hearing about it for a while. Thank you for sending it to me. I've always wanted this. It's been on my list. Now I finally have it. I can see what it's all about. I got a few new issues of Dracula, just with cool covers. Of course, I already own copies of Dracula. Dracula is not one of those books where I have to collect every single cover edition that exists like I do with the Phantom of the Opera collection that I have. But I do like to get the cool ones. And I do always appreciate when you send me cool ones that you think, especially if they're illustrated or have like really nice cover art or interesting forwards or introductions or like articles in them. So I love the cover art on this one. The way they summarize it on the back is kind of funny. Handsome Jonathan Harker is warned not to go to Count Dracula's castle, but he ignores the danger and is plunged into a nightmare. Soon, Dracula is hunting down Jonathan's beloved wife, Mina. The vampire must be destroyed or the young lovers will end up his victims. They like focused on the romance, which, you know, I guess appealing to the romance-loving crowd out there who has romanticized Dracula, which is not the first time, but you see movies like Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula that focus on the romance, and it's just not what the original book focused on at all. So the fact that this is the original book, it's not a romantic retelling, it's just summarizing it as if it is a romance. The first word is handsome. Like, I'm sure Jonathan Harker was perfectly nice looking, but he's never really referred to as, oh, so handsome in the book. And Dracula is hunting down Jonathan's beloved wife, Mina. No, that's not really what he's doing. He just kind of ends up there. Cool, Puffin Books. I see what you did there. This one, I'm so excited about. This came from the same friend who worked at the used bookstore, got this in the book haul that came in that day and was like, do you want this? And I'm like, yes, I do. Slipcase, gorgeous marble slipcase. Oh, it just has that old book smell. Look, it's illustrated, some really cool illustrations. This is from 1965, so the art style is very 60s. Very trippy. So beautiful. I love old books. This is from the Heritage Press collection. with an introduction by Anthony Boucher, illustrated with wood engravings by Felix Hoffman. Gorgeous. Thank you for finding this for me. This is Dracula as illustrated by Greg Hildebrandt, which I'm so excited about because I have the Greg Hildebrandt illustrated version of Phantom of the Opera, which is one of my favorite copies of Phantom of the Opera. And this has his same gorgeous kind of illustrations. Just look at him. Look at the work he does. And I wasn't sure if this was an abridged copy of Dracula or not because it seemed kind of short, but seeing how tight the text is in here, I'm thinking it might be the whole thing. It doesn't say it's abridged. For the Phantom of the Opera edition I have two. I do have the abridged one for children and then the full text, both with the same Hildebrandt illustrations. So there's Lucy in her coffin. Let's see what Dracula looks like. There he is. Look at those red eyes. Climbing down the wall like a lizard. What a find this is. This came out in 1985. Out of print. Can only find it used. Thank you for finding this for me. It's got an introduction by Frank Langella. Of course it does. He was the hotness. And now we're down to a few non-vampire things, but still on brand that I got at the same time as these books, so I'm including them because we love them. This is a illustrated copy of Frankenstein, not by Greg Hildebrandt. This is illustrated in black and white by Lind Ward and in color by Aristides Ruiz. Beautiful illustrations of Frankenstein. What does the creature look like? Damn. This is from 1988. Love it. Endless Night by Kelsey Cole from the Arcana Chronicles. This is not a vampire book, I am to understand, but it's a Death and the Maiden book, which is my jam. I have done a series on all of my Death and the Maiden and Grim Reaper focused books, which this obviously belongs to. Death is an immortal knight who can't decide whether he wants to seduce me or kill me. This brutal swordsman tells me that in another life, I was promised to him. He tells me horrible things about Jack, the boy I've fallen for. Things from Jack's past that sound so hauntingly believable. It should be an easy decision. Trust the boy who saved my life over the boy who might take it, especially when Jack has no intention of ever letting me go. But nothing's easy at the end of the world. Enemies gather, battle lines are drawn, and in an endless night of blood and screams, I will be forced to choose. So another love triangle between two bad boys, and one of them is death. I am so here for it. So this is not the first book in the Arcana Chronicles. The first one is Poison Princess, and this is the follow-up to that. But this is the one about death, so, thank you. All the Tommies of the World, a zombie thriller. I don't know that this has any vampires in it either, but it does have zombies, which we are here for. This is by Javier Grombinski. They know something we don't. For horror YouTubers Lilith and Nate, zombie movies are escapist fantasies. So when a real zombie uprising in the streets of New Southport is quickly thwarted, they know those familiar-looking ghouls are hiding something. They should know. Born with a weak heart in the funeral town of Ladle Ranch, built around the largest cemetery in the world, Lilith's parents raised her with zombie stories to keep her from learning the truth about what happens inside the cemetery walls. As for Nathan, the caretaker's son, he has his reasons to be so cowardly. So when they get outsmarted by seemingly droning ghouls and are forced to split up, the uncanny coincidences are undeniable. And as things start to look more and more like Lilith's apocalyptic visions, and as a darker threat lurks, it will be up to them to piece the puzzle before everyone they love faces a fate worse than becoming a zombie. Can they be stopped? Are they just playing dead? Do they have a plan? They know something we don't, and whatever it is, they hate us for it. It's a brand new book, just came out this year. Thank you for sending it to me. This is not a book, but it looks like one. It's a box in the shape of a book, which of course I had to have. You need a box to put things in sometimes. I just thought it was cool. I actually got a bunch of Halloween-y decor because it's that time of year. It's on sale. And I use Halloween decor as year-round decor in this house. This was just one thing. I won't bore you with the rest, but some good stuff. Paper Monsters and Curious Creatures. This is a craft project book. And as you know, I am into paper crafts. So I would like to make these Paper Monsters projects to copy, cut, and fold. And of course there's a vampire. You can make a paper vampire. There's also a Grim Reaper in here. Yes. I'm going to attempt this see how it turns out. And I'll let you know if I have any like little tiny paper vampires to share. This is so cool. This is a copy of American Cinematographer magazine from January 1995 with the article about Interview with the Vampire. Got Brad Pitt on the cover wielding his scythe like the badass that Louis is. Article about the movie in here, Interview with the Vampire, taps a new vein. And there's some really cool behind the scenes photography in here, which I know you can't really see. My lights are shiny. I'm so excited for this. You know, Interview with the Vampire is my favorite vampire movie of all vampire movies and my favorite vampire book series. What a find. Thank you so much for sending this to me. The House That Drac Built by Judy Sierra, illustrated by Will Hillenbrand, a children's picture book. This is the house that Drac built. Inside there's a bat and a cat and a werewolf and a mummy and a monster and shh, who's that knocking on the door? I love spooky children's books. Wow, look at this art. This is from 1995, a classic. You can't find this anymore. This I found on the bargain shelf at Barnes & Noble in their clearance section. Poe Puzzles, Brain Games, more than 100 brain teasers inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. My king, yes, thank you. I haven't done any of them yet, but it looks like fun. And speaking of Poe, we have an illustrated edition. I collect illustrated and children's editions of Edgar Allan Poe. I have a big Edgar Allan Poe collection. This one is Tales of Mystery and Madness, illustrated by Gris Grimley. There's a name. This came out in 2004, and it's got 4 stories, Black Cat, Mask of the Red Death, Hop Frog, and Follow the House of Usher, all gorgeously illustrated. Look at this work. Love it. Ray Bradbury's The Halloween Tree, one of his children's books. On Halloween night, 8 trick-or-treaters gather at the haunted house by the edge of town, ready for adventure. But when something whisks their friend Pip away, only one man can help the boys find him. Join the sinister Carapace Clavicle Mound Shroud as he takes them on an unforgettable journey through space and time, deep into the mysteries of this spookiest of all nights. Can the boys save Pip before it's too late? 1972 classic by Ray Bradbury with this very cool cover, which came out in 2005. Thank you for saying this to me. I love children's books that are spooky. Persephone, written by Sally Palm Clayton, illustrated by Virginia Lee. Another find by my friend at the used bookseller. This is stories of Persephone from the Greek myth. My favorite goddess. Hades and Persephone is my favorite classic story. And this is just a children's retelling of the Persephone story. There's Hades. Look how gorgeous he is. I love it. As you well know, I named my fledgling spawn Persephone. It is her name. When she's a little bit older, I'm going to read this book to her, and then she'll know. Speaking of Persephone and Death in the Maiden, I finally went to Hot Topic to check out their Lore Olympus merchandise. Very excited. I got the pins. I know these are hard to see. This is the Hades and Persephone pin. I also got the Queen Persephone pin. Persephone and Cerberus. Persephone and Hades cuddling. I'm not really an enamel pin person, but I had to have these. I do have a few spooky enamel pins that I guess I can sort of start becoming an enamel pin person for very select needs. Got my Hades and Persephone pins. I love Lore Olympus. If you have not read this webcomic, go read it now. You'll become instantly addicted. It is a wonderful, completely reimagined retelling of the Hades and Persephone myth. I love it. Also had a t-shirt. Got a t-shirt. And pants, these are on the clearance rack. When the person helping me at the store saw that I was looking at, they're like, oh, we have pants on clearance. They're cute, just like regular sweatpants. Title drop on the side. This is a Blu-ray of Moonchild, which is a Japanese vampire film, which I have not watched yet. It has English subtitles, so I'll be able to understand it. I took 3 years of Japanese in high school. I don't remember that much. So thankful for the English subtitles. I'm very interested in Japanese takes on vampires. Any non-Western takes on vampires are always exciting for a change. This came out in 2002. It's been around for a while, and now I finally will get to be able to watch it. The Funko Pop of Bram Stoker's Dracula's Dracula from the Francis Ford Coppola movie. He has got such a grin on his face. I don't know what Funko Pop people were thinking, but this is the Dracula with the really big hair and the really weird outfit. Very iconic look from that movie, but he is just so happy to see you. Add him to my growing Funko Pop collection. I now have, Castlevania Dracula, Morticia Addams, Edgar Allan Poe, Elvira, and tiny Elvira. So my Funko Pop collection is growing. I'm gonna have to get like an actual Funko Pop shelf for all of these. Thank you for saying this to me. I'm so happy to have Dracula now. They can be buddies and like argue about who's better. I've mentioned Phantom of the Opera a couple times. I just did a video not long ago about all the additional Phantom of the Opera books I've gotten in my Phantom of the Opera book collection, as well as all the Phantom of the Opera movies in my collection. And I mentioned that there were a few things I didn't have. So a couple of you sent me some stuff I'm very excited about. This is a copy of Song at Midnight, which, as you can tell, is just like printed off and burned. You can't really buy an official DVD of Song at Midnight. It exists online. It's public domain. So someone burned it into a disc and made a cute little DVD out of it. So now I actually have a physical copy that I can watch anytime I want on my DVD player. Thank you for sending this to me. Also this, which I had heard of, but wasn't really familiar with, didn't realize how Phantom inspired this movie was. Otherwise I would have mentioned it. This is Stage Fright, which is a horror movie. It's got Meatloaf in it and Minnie Driver. I don't know if she's reprising her Phantom role or what. This came out in 2014, so 10 years after she did Phantom. In this genre-blending Glee meets Rocky Horror musical comedy, a starry-eyed teenager wants to follow in her mother's footsteps and become a Broadway diva, but instead she's stuck working in the kitchen of her stepbrother's snobby performing arts camp. Determined to change her destiny, she sneaks into an audition for the summer showcase, landing the lead role. However, just as rehearsals begin, blood starts to spill, and Camilla finds herself terrorized by a homicidal masked killer. Yeah, I could see the Phantom influence there. I've been led to understand it's very, very loosely influenced, but a must-watch for any Phantom fan. Thank you so much for sending this to me. Just broadening my horizons all the time. This is Phantom Heart, which is a brand new novel. It came out like the week after I made my Phantom of the Opera video. If I'd waited a week, I could have included this and that. I had asked for the pre-order for my birthday, which was back in May, and my dad bought it for me, and it just showed up on the day. It came out by Kelly Creech. This is not one of the very, very many self-published Phantom of the Opera novels that exist. This is an actual mass-published novel by Penguin Books, modernized Phantom of the Opera retelling. 17-year-old Stephanie Armand doesn't believe in ghosts and spirits, despite the rumors at school and her little sister insisting a masked figure is hiding in her closet. Stephanie isn't convinced her father's latest renovation project, a crumbling Victorian mansion called Moldovia, houses the soul of a monster. But when a very charming and paranormal-obsessed Lucas Shaney, takes an interest in both Stephanie and her notorious home, the supernatural and romantic activity escalates to an all-time high. And then there's Eric, the mysterious dashing boy with the British accent who's taken up residence in Stephanie's nightly dreams, a boy who may have something to do with the man in the mask, and the strange occurrences taking place within the walls of Moldavia. In this modern Gothic tale full of swooning romance and unexpected twists, an intoxicating story inspired by Phantom of the Opera. One would die for her, the other already has. So I guess he's a literal ghost in this. Love it. So yeah, add this to your Phantom of the Opera collection. It's legit. A copy of Phantom by Susan Kay. Yes, I already own copies of Phantom by Susan Kay. Yes, I own this particular copy, which is the one with the fold-out artwork and the bookmark in the back, which is a very rare find. So my friend at the used bookstore happened to come across this, like, yes, mine, please, like the gremlin I am. This is artwork of my novel, The Company of Death, that someone drew for me and sent me. Thank you so much. I love it so much. There's Death and there's Emily, the two main characters from the novel. I'm going to frame this and put this on my wall. I love this so much. You are very talented. And speaking of original hand-drawn artwork, my friend who used to work for the used bookseller that helped hook me up with a lot of the books I showed you is also an artist and also sent me some original art, which I just have to share with you. This is a colored pencil drawing of Lestat from Vampire Chronicles, and it's one of my favorite of this artist's work, and he sent it to me, and I love it so much. I need to find a 9x11 frame for it. Bit of an unconventional size, and this is going straight up on my wall. This is the same artist who sent me that other artwork of Lestat from the Vampire Chronicles. This one, which I showed you previously for my birthday. This artist, who is a very good friend of mine, has a store where you can buy the art if you want to, and I'm going to include a link for that store in the description of this video in case you want to go check it out. If you're a fan of Lestat and all the other Vampire Chronicles characters as much as I am, then yeah. So beautiful. Thank you so much. And while we're talking about gorgeous art, this something I'm very excited about. This is an art book by artist Abigail Larson. Name of the book is called Crimson. This was a Kickstarter book. I Kickstartered it, and it was actually kind of fast for a Kickstarter. I've had other Kickstarters that I've backed that haven't even come yet, way before this one. This was fast, and it is beautiful. Abigail Larson does a lot of spooky, gothic work. Fairies, goblins, comics, classic gothic. There's Jekyll and Hyde, witches, Little Red Riding Hood, Cthulhu. There's Lucy from Dracula, the Blue Fur Lady. I don't know if you can get this art book now that the Kickstarter is over. Oh, so many vampires. I love it. But you can find Abigail Larson's art online everywhere. There's a Society 6 store where you can buy t-shirts and stuff. Look up Abigail Larson, one of my favorite gothic artists who's like kind of famous out there working in the world. Go support her work. She is awesome. This book is just so beautifully printed with its faux leather cover and its black edges and its ribbon. I don't do a lot of Kickstarter things because, you know, they're expensive, but this was absolutely worth it. And all the text in here is written in English and French for your reading ease. But there are lots of different kinds of art, right? Drawing is just one kind of art, and I have here now a piece of art that I just love. This was a gift made for me by my friend Lindsay Ellis, who quilts. Did you know Lindsay Ellis quilts? She made me this quilt for my birthday, but then we didn't see each other until July, so she didn't give it to me until July. On the edge, we have ravens and trees. In the center, it's bats and spider webs, and then this gothy damask pattern here. In the back, this creepy night forest pattern, which you probably can't see, but it's just so gorgeous. I didn't even know she quilted before she gave this to me. And then, surprise, a quilt, it's your birthday. I just love it so much. When your friends know you, you know. And I've been doing art too. I do art of my own, which I've shown you plenty of times before. If you're familiar with my friend Lindsay Ellis, maybe you watched her videos and maybe you've seen some of my art in the background of her video. Well, I made this, which is a shadow box of the creature from the Black Lagoon, and I had made this for her and given it to her. And then I made it again. I made another one because I wanted to do it better. The one I made for her was one of the very first shadow boxes I ever made, so I've been sort of refining my shadow boxing skills. And this one is bigger and better, and I'm very proud of it. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one, if I'm going to sell it or give it away to someone else or keep it for myself, or maybe I'll make more. Creature from the Black Lagoon. I also remade a bigger and better, more skilled version of the Grim Reaper shadow box. This one's my favorite one. You know Death, he's my boy. And then I wanted to try something new, so I made this spider shadow box. This is like a black and red, and you know, this is simpler. It only has 7 layers compared to the others, which have like 14. But this was very hard to put together because in order to make it dimensional, you have to cut teeny tiny pieces of sticky foam, and doing that on the web was very hard. So I'm proud of this one. Black and red are classic, of course, but I wanted to try other colors as well, and I want to try many colors. So I made a purple one because purple is one of my favorite colors. Same design, just different colors, different patterns of paper. I know it's hard for you to see, but there are like shiny pearl details on this. And when I made this, everyone was like, it looks like an asexual spider. And I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. As an asexual person, I approve. And then I was like, I could make these spiders in all different colors of pride flags. I could make spiders. I don't know. I'm working on the name, but that's my next plan. That's my next goal. I'm going to make all different colors of spiders in pride flag colors. It's going to be fun. What will I do with them? I don't know. Maybe I'll finally make that Etsy store I've been talking about. For more random stuff to share with you, these are press-on nail tips from this brand called My Nails. And this brand sent me these nail tips for free in exchange for me mentioning them, which is what I'm doing right now. That's literally it. They didn't pay me or anything. But I tried some. They're very cool. Definitely recommend them. Very easy to use. They have all kinds of like gothy styles. And they also have non-gothy styles, if that's your flavor. Gothic fingernails. Cheap, easy to use. Buy them online. My Nails. And the last thing I want to share with you tonight is the best thing. Of course, I saved the best for last. Is this. What's in the box? You want to know what is in this coffin box? Well, it's a vampire, of course. This is a very special piece of merchandise that I was very thankful that someone on my Discord server alerted me to. They saw this in a comic book store where they lived. And it's not something you can find most places. I think the owner of that comic book store probably bought this online and then put it there because it's not just something that's available to buy from stores in America. I found it on eBay. You can find it on eBay. That's the only place you can really find it, unless you happen to find one locally. In the box, we have, it's Louis from Interview with the Vampire. This is a ball-jointed doll. Comes in his own coffin. Louis, as played by Brad Pitt in Interview with the Vampire. Right now he has his sexy hair. You can pose him, do whatever you want with him. Do whatever you want with him. But he also came with additional hands, an additional head with his conservative hair. So you could swap them out, put him in different poses, hands and head, to do what you want with him. And I will. The clothes are gorgeous. The details are gorgeous. So who made this doll and where did it come from? Well, it was not officially sanctioned by the company that made the movie, that's for sure. And it definitely isn't official Anne Rice merchandise. No one involved with Vampire Chronicles or the movie got any royalties or licensing fee or anything from this. So it's very, the person who made it could technically be sued, right? But it was made by this company that's based in China that has since gone out of business. And they made a lot of licensed dolls like this based off popular things you may have heard of. This was one of the very last dolls they made before they went out of business. And that makes me so sad because that means that there will never be a Lestat doll. But they can't even call it Interview with a Vampire or Louis or anything that uses the official names from the movie or the books because, that's illegal, even if they're in China, and it would be hard to sue them. So if you want to look up this doll, it's called Vampire Lou, L-O-U, and just look on eBay and you can find it for varying prices. Pricing for shipping from China is very high, but there's some listings that have it with the shipping included, and it works out to be less than if you buy it cheaper with the shipping. So be very careful. I'm giving you my tips here to find this doll. So worth it. This is one of the most gorgeous pieces of vampire merchandise I've ever found. Just the craftsmanship on the clothes and everything. It looks just like his outfit from the movie. And his hair is so sexy. Yeah, I featured this doll in my last video I made about what's going on with the Vampire Chronicles TV show that's coming out next year. And everyone was like, where did you get that doll? I want one. Well, now you can get one from eBay or some other reseller. But when I bought it from eBay, it came brand new in its coffin-shaped box with all the extra hands. So you could put Louis's hands all over if you wanted to. But yeah, it's been a good couple of months, and not just for vampire books, but for vampire art too. Yeah, dolls are art. Louis, my Louis. I am going to the Anne Rice Vampire Lestat Fan Club Vampire Ball in New Orleans this Halloween. I'm very excited about it. I've gone to this ball once before. I went in 2014. Back then, Anne Rice herself still attended the balls. So now that we're all vaccinated, they're holding the ball again. So I am going to go down to New Orleans to attend the Vampire Ball, and I'm very excited this Halloween. If you're going to be at the Vampire Ball in New Orleans this Halloween, not the Endless Night Vampire Ball, but the Anne Rice Vampire Lestat Vampire Ball, please come say hi to me. I'll be very happy to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me in my vampire library. I love that you are all so excited by vampire books, just like I am. If you would like to read vampire books with me, join my Discord server to join my vampire book club, where we read one vampire book a month. This month, we are reading Certain Dark Things by Silvia Monero Garcia, which was just re-released. Very exciting. This book has been out of print for a while. Just came back out in print, so now you can read it, and you absolutely should. Read it by October 13th, and you can join us for book club right here on this channel. It'll be a live stream, but the video will also remain up on the channel afterwards for everyone's enjoyment to watch. The Vampire Book Club, as well as my Discord server, as well as these videos, are all supported by my Patreon patrons. Thank you so much for supporting my videos. If you would like to help support me, or the Discord server, or the book club, or any of our vampire endeavors, consider joining my Patreon. You get to see all my videos earlier than everybody else does. So I hope to see you there. If not, just leave me comments. Tell me what other vampire books I should read, I should add to my wish list, I should add to my collection. I always love to hear about more vampire books and things. Until next time, enjoy your night, enjoy your autumn, the best season of the year. Look forward to Halloween. I'll be seeing you again before then. Until then, though, good night.